We are back actually much more quicker this time, which is a delight for me. We will help the declickerable work, and obviously I'm trying to deliver as the promises. So I'm going to introduce to you Olena Maritskaya, who is the CEO and the founder at ISE. She will tell you more about herself, but also it's a very deep and personal presentation for me, for her, and for all of the Ukrainian people, since it's going to be a very insightful presentation about how Ukrainian ecosystem is dealing with war. Olena, please, welcome on stage.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi everyone, I'm happy to be here and thankful to Wolf Summit team that we invited so many Ukrainian startups these days. It's about 50 startups supposed to participate during those 4 days when pitching online and offline. And I'm happy that we can speak and discuss what's happening in Ukraine now. So, starting off my personal story, I'm an investment professional from Ukraine, working in different industries. And basically, I dedicated 15 years of my life to build Ukraine. I created several hospitals there, I created hotels, I built manufacturing. So basically, I dedicated life to building. And now I have to see how it's destructing. And it's really, really painful. And you know what? I'm teaching startups. I'm teaching startups and entrepreneurship. And we have to go through those important things that we have while building startup, you have to restart. Restart and restart, try again if something doesn't work. You have pivot everything if it doesn't work. And you know, now we are in such a situation that we have to pivot our country. Basically, we're pivoting it totally, because now, instead of traditional industries, we have to be more militaristic just in order to survive. So maybe Ukraine now is one of the biggest startups ever. But I want you to see how it was before. You know, everyone now have seen many pictures of destruction and what's happening. But I want to see you just what was 3 months ago. Please, can you put first video? Ukraine is open for you. There are 2 secrets why Russia cannot defeat us so easy. And one, they didn't expect that Ukraine is so modern, so digitalized, so technological country. And I want to invite my colleagues that will discuss with me the story of Ukraine and the technology sector of Ukraine. Please join me on stage, Dmitry Vartanyan, Seed Venture Partners. This is we see from Ukraine, and it's very special to me. I want to speak about everyone a little bit and then invite all of you. Because Dmitry just has done 4 transactions, as far as I read, or maybe even more, 4 deals during the March and April in Ukraine. So this is VC fund that actually believe in Ukraine so much that they keep investing in Ukrainian startups. Please applaud him, because this is you have to have a courage to keep investing in Ukraine now.
Thank you.
I want to invite Andrei Golubinsky, founder and CEO of Apastera. Apastera is a very special Ukrainian startup that now is famous because it's used by premium segment automotive cars in Germany. Basically, they have made joint ventures with Audi, and I think Andrei will tell more. Recently, I think in January 2022, they have made exit to Harman. Very successful story, so Andrei will elaborate on it. And I want to invite Oksana Zabolotna. Oksana Zabolotna is a partner for Qubit Labs and Symptomatical. It's a Ukrainian outstaffing company, so basically dealing with software. And Oksana, can I ask you to just so I will work with Clicker. And also co-founder of startup Symptomatical. The case of Oksana that she is making successful business for 15 years in Ukraine, being in Ukraine, staying in Ukraine, and without relocation. So she came here just from Lviv Oblast just to speak for a couple of days and going back there. And you know what's interesting, despite the war and what has happened, they managed to create new contracts, and they are growing despite the war. So I think all of them have something to tell special about what's happening in Ukraine. Guys, can you please introduce and add more about yourself, each of you, and I will join you.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Andrei. I was a CEO of the company before the acquisition. We are dealing with, within the automotive industry, actually, we developed a very innovative product called augmented reality that is being used right now by the premium German OEMs. And we launched the company back in 2017 with the headquarters in Munich, but the main, actually, almost all engineers were and actually are based in Ukraine. And like Helena just mentioned, that the beginning of this year, yeah, just before the war, that nobody actually expected, we did a successful exit and we joined the leader in automotive. It's Harman. It's the company belongs to the Samsung Group, and right now, jointly with the company, with the Harman, we are leading the age in the augmented reality field in automotive space. But it is true to say that this particular product, 100% made in Ukraine, and actually was built and inspired by Ukrainian people, and also actually all founders are from Ukraine as well. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Dmitry Vartanian, and I'm in IT for 20 years. Recently, it was the birthday of our company, Sigma Software, where I'm a founder and CFO. And in December last year, we launched together with other companies and our partners, we launched Seed Venture Partners. It's an early-stage venture fund with the amount of $15 million. This is kind of open story when we invite limited partners into our venture fund. And well, yes, for now we have over 10 investments. So during 5 months, and yes, after the war, we proceed to make our investments, and we have raised new money from new LPs.
Yes, hi. My name is Oksana Zabolotna. I am in charge of business and marketing development in company Qubit Labs. I also co-founded Symptomatical startup, and with Eva Kozlovska, my partner, we are developing actively Women in Tech Ukraine right now. Yes, I'm staying in Ukraine, and all our most of our back office is staying in Ukraine together with developers. Someone relocated to Western Ukraine. Someone, of course, fled, but we are doing business from Ukraine. So all the contracts we sign, our clients know that it's a Ukrainian company as we advertise. So during the the first 3 months, during these 3 months, we managed to sign 5 contracts, 3 of them during March, which was the most difficult month for Ukraine. And then we managed to sign 2 more contracts, and one of them is the client from USA who actually come back to us from after the pause of cooperation. So yeah, I think it shows the opportunities and how Ukrainians can do their work. And just imagine what we can do after we win and how much contracts we will bring to Ukrainian tech ecosystem. I have this for myself, a note for myself to thank to Polish people and to Polish government, because when you here it's different, and when you're in Ukraine you just feel the support, and it's so important to us that I cannot just explain how it is to feel that your back is covered with such neighbors and such good friends. So thanks all of you.
You know, guys, we love to do it as more interactive as possible. So now we will discuss our topics and questions, but we want audience also to participate. And those who will be the most active, we will give special prize from Ukrainian team. This is the symbol of resilience, and the symbol is our iconic T-shirt that actually our guys wearing. So several of them will go to participants. Please don't be shy and ask questions during the panel, and we will be happy to give your presents. And also in the end of the panel, we are asking Will Summit team to come on the stage, as we have special present for them, and we ask all Ukrainian startups who are present here, and all Ukrainians, even if you are not startup but expert or an investor or whatever, join us, and we will want to make together a picture of all Ukrainians. So now let's proceed. Maybe, can I ask to turn on video about Audi, because we want to start speaking about Ukrainian products, probably with Apostera. I want world to know that there are many, many, many Ukrainian products which are widely used, but people don't know that they're from Ukraine. For instance, Grammarly, that is used everywhere, so they have Ukrainian co-founders. There are, for instance, Reface, the application that was #1 in Apple Store for 1 year. There are many other, Clean My Market, also developed by Ukraine, and you've seen the guy actually in the video, the founder of MacPow. There are many products that were born in Ukraine, and Ukraine is a home for them, and then they conquer the world. So, can you please put audio video, so it's easier sometimes to watch video and then understand how product works. So, I hope you understood what's happening, or if not, our founder of this startup will explain actually how from idea basically to the Audi, the whole route, how startup was going. So can you tell more what we've just seen, what it was, how it works, and actually your story?
Yeah, actually, this is how the product looks like today, and in the Audi vehicles. And the story started more than I think 10 years ago, actually in Odessa, when we have been working on the different navigation system in the automotive space, and we realized the challenge that all the drivers still experience during the driving journey. And this is connected to the fact that the navigation systems, even if you take Google, Apple, they're not very precise. And usually what you see through the windshield of your car and what you see on the navigation systems are, in most cases, different pictures, right? And at the same time, urban network, especially in Asia as well as North America, are really growing. Therefore, you might have different levels, like 3-4 levels, different roundabouts, exits, etc. And it's really a challenge for us, for the consumers of the vehicles, to navigate. Therefore, we have been thinking how to bring all relevant information for the driver actually in front of the vehicle. And we come up with the idea to use augmented reality, right? But that was kind of the crazy idea 10 years ago that nobody believed in it. And then in 2017, we decided to launch a separate company, startup, Avastera, with co-founders from Kiev and Odessa. And actually, yeah, we believed in this, but, you know, I believe in many startups, nothing possible just from the first day. You have to work very hard to take additional risks, but still believe the idea. And yeah, also I would like to thank to the investors. It's a company ICU and the Semerkar who believed in us, who believed in the team, who believed in the idea at that time. They invested in the company, and then back in 2018, we finally also convince Audi, right, that Avastera and the team is the right company to make the fiction, right, the reality, and we started this project, right? And this is the only thing we can right now demonstrate to the audience, because we have been working on the other cutting-edge technologies in augmented reality space, but not everything we can visualize right now and to demonstrate because of different NDAs, but this is a fact. This is a car. This is available on the market. I think there are one more car that is similar with a similar system. It's Mercedes-Benz S-Class, but there are no other competitors on the market rather than that. Yeah, and actually, yeah, it's, you know, it's a startup that's idea, vision, technology team coming from Ukraine. You know, Ukraine is very well known because of IT services, but like Elena mentioned at the very beginning, we have also many cutting-edge tech startups who are making an impact not only to the, you know, like your writing, checking, etc., but also in automotive. So, and yeah, many cars that you are driving today and driving tomorrow with the tech coming from Ukraine. It's true.
So guys, when driving next time German car, don't forget that there is a Ukrainian product inside. And how did you manage actually to go into German automotive industry, because it's so close, it's traditional, it's already spread, who is there? How did you fight this competition actually? I think it was probably the hardest part of the journey, or no?
You know, each startup, it's all about the team, it's about market fit, about having clients. I don't think that we're unique or different, you know, versus other startups. Yeah, we have been working in the industry, definitely. We had a knowledge of the automotive industry. I have been living in Germany for almost 7 years. Before moving into Munich, I used to work, I actually used to live in the small city close to Stuttgart, Böblingen. Yeah, and I think Munich, it's the center of automotive in Germany for obvious reasons, because there are different, very famous OEMs over there. Yeah, and I think because of the market knowledge, also connections that our team had and have right now in automotive, we managed to knock the door big names and convince them, yeah, that's product possible to bring to the reality. Yeah, it's like, you know, mixed reality, bringing to reality. And actually, one additional point, maybe for the audience also to understand, so there are two definitions, augmented reality and the mixed reality. Augmented reality is usually what you can find, for example, in your smartphones using Google Map, right? There is augmented reality. And the mixed reality, or the technologies that we're using, is different. The fundamental difference is that the mixed reality, or in other words, it's true augmented reality when we merge two worlds. The first one is a physical world that all of us as drivers, we see through the windshield. And the second one, the digital world that is coming from the navigation system, etc. So, and we merge those two worlds in a way that the driver have a very precise and detailed information where you go. So in our solution, you don't need to change the focus of your eyes to any navigation system. You really focus what's happening in front of the car. And therefore, at the end of the day, it's not only about conveniences, but we also reduce the car accidents and increase safety, right? So you would not realize yourself in the tunnel suddenly that you need to turn to the left, to the right, to exit from the motorway. With our solution, you know exactly where to go, and we reduce those distractions almost to zero.
And another question. You know, it's very important when we teach startups that there is a point when you have to exit. Everything, like, it's very smart. You exit right, it's sometimes a successful story. And for me, it's the question, how did you know when the right time to exit? You decided not to stay until unicorn or whatever. We know approximately your valuation. Maybe if you can disclose it, maybe not. But we know that you can go bigger and maybe go to NASDAQ, to IPO. Why did you decide to exit at some point?
Actually, I think there are two takeaways, right, from our journey. First of all, we have to understand that, for example, automotive market or automotive industry, when it comes to core automotive industry, meaning if you develop some product in the car, you have to follow very specific and strict regulation when it comes to processes and quality, right? You cannot just develop something for the smartphone and bring it on the website, on the cloud, and bring it to the car. No, it's not possible, because we're talking about safety, we're talking about security and the people's lives at the end of the day. So it means that you have to invest a lot, not only into the team and the processes, and invest in the product itself. So it's really how to say, the investment cycle is very long, right? So you need to have a lot of money on your bank account in order to finance this, right? And actually, yeah, I think, yeah, being Ukrainian startup also a challenge, because there is no as many trusts, let's say, in Europe as, for example, if you're a German startup or any other startups, it's still a challenge. I think after, during the war, this challenge will be kind of omitted, because everybody believes there is a trust in Ukrainians, and the trust what we are doing. Second one, it's if you see a lot of opportunities, right? So we start with one project, but there are many other OEMs and clients who actually start knocking our doors. And again, in order to address all those opportunities, you have to have very strong partner on the market who can really help you to address all those opportunities, right? It's a moment of time when we realize, wow, there are a lot of projects, there is a huge demand of the technology, and definitely to address this demand, we need somebody who is standing next to us and helping us to address all those challenges. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much about us. So yeah, access to the financing as well as support to address all these opportunities. Therefore, we decided, it's a very good time where we can join Harman, right? Who is actually helping us a lot right now to accelerate with all our, let's say, ideas further.
I think it's a good point speaking about access to finance. You know, it wasn't that easy before the war. Now it's even more tricky question. Really, who would dare to invest during the war? And I want to pass the word to the guy who dares to invest, really, who has this courage. Dmitry, it's your turn to speak. So why do you invest in Ukraine? Why you don't escape? And there are million startups all over the world. You can invest anywhere. Oh.
Yeah, that's correct. But first of all, I'd like to notice that we invest in Ukrainian-founded startups globally, meaning that it's not like the company in Ukraine. Normally, all Ukrainian startups incorporate their businesses outside of Ukraine because it's global startups, and we invest only in global stories. That's why normally it's Delaware or UK-based companies, or even Portuguese-based company, which we have now in portfolio. And the other thing that there is still risk, because normally, again, the major part of the team are in Ukraine, and it's what is happening now. And nowadays, after the war, some of them are locked in Ukraine, and this is, of course, matter of risk, of perception of the risk and the management of the risk. Because, as I told you, I'm also a co-founder, a CFO in Sigma Software. We have over 2,000 people. And we know how to relocate people. We know how to force drivers to go back to Kharkiv to pick our people to the western part of Ukraine, even if they don't want to risk. So we did it, and we also have a possibility to make our startups, to help our startups to relocate and to reduce those risks. And what is the really important for us is that at least some of people from the team should have a possibility to go abroad for business development. Sometimes it's impossible to do it only from Ukraine. But what I can tell is that over 50% of our startups, and by now we invested more than 10, are female-driven startups.
Oh, that's good. It probably needs a round of applause, because usually men get all investments.
Yeah, it happens without any specific intention from our side. It's just what we see in the market, and we are proud of those startups. They show great results. So, and that means they have a possibility to make business development abroad. And for other teams, some of the owners already was in the United States or in Canada or in the business trips, so we don't see really big risks now. Of course, they exist, but I think it's manageable.
I probably want to comment on this. Unfortunately, it's really sad to admit that this war doing some favors to females, because it's traditional male industry with 95% of founders males, and now we have this chance to get more investment and become more visible. I hope this will change after the war, and our Ukrainian startup will get investment despite on gender of founder all over the world. But if female founders who are here, I've seen several of you, please be active and take this chance and be present to show up, to show Ukrainian ecosystem, because that's our job now, to deliver the message that we keep working. Those who are within the country and those who are outside the country, we work for Ukraine, for Ukrainian startup and for future. And I want with this ask Oksana, how actually you feel, because you are a female founder who can go abroad, but you decided to stay within the country, and you have a huge team of people who are there, and you keep manage them. Can you tell more about your story? How do you see this point of relocation, whether to go, whether to stay, and how you see it from the business management perspective? How do you manage this?
Yeah, we run clients-oriented business, so we do software development for clients and run their R&Ds. So we are very, very dependent on the risk situations like war, and clients, there is always a chance that they leave for more settled, more safe places. But we had in mind that there are risks. As you may also know and notice that months before 24th of February, all the newspapers, all the media was talking about that. And all our clients were asking, and we felt the panic that were just, you can cut it with a knife, the panic that was in the air in the whole Europe, I guess. And we were prepared for that by communicating our business continuity plans, like what we will do. We know that there is risks. Your team is in Kharkiv or your team is in Kyiv. They will do that. Like you won't lose any stable business processes because they are dependent on us. Like startups, projects, they are dependent. And then when during the first months we were in the constant communication with our clients, our awesome HR management teams, they were simultaneously resettling teams and teams were delivering. And I want to say thanks to our HR. She was in a lot of stress, making sure that all our people and their families are safe. Then I want to say that what helped is our previous experience with quarantine, actually, because Ukrainians are so we already know how to work remote from any place in the world. Like I really don't. There is no difference working from Sri Lanka, Kyiv, or Wroclaw. It's for all. We just take our laptops and we do our work. We deliver and bring results. And then what was a point of big risk is a bank system in Ukraine, like how to get payments and how to pay salaries, because people are dependent on us and clients are dependent on us. And it was a big... it's great that the whole bank system was working as it must all the time. Like we had no issues with payments, even though we had reserved bank accounts prepared for our developers in case they had to change to European banks. But we also communicated that with our clients that don't worry, all your developers, all of your teams will get money because they are worried about their people also. It's like they were asking, is it okay? Should we change the legal entity or else? We said, no, we will manage that. We do our work. So yeah, that's the main points which we want to communicate. The bank system, government system in Ukraine is working as it should. It was like before the war. And it's very important that we manage that, and money in business, they are working.
So I would add here, so probably all Ukrainians who are spread now all over the world, they already live in metaverse, because half of the day probably we spent in Zoom speaking with our teams who are everywhere, and we even don't care where there are someone in Portugal, in Denmark, in the United States, but we keep working and developing the same product that we actually were doing before the war. And it's incredible how resilient it is. Of course, it's huge mental and psychological and emotional challenge to us, but basically I think we all of us learn to be together, being on such huge distances. And speaking on behalf of Accelerator, as I run Accelerator in Ukraine, and we have about 3,000 early stage startups, and we accelerated ourselves about 50 startups. I should point that we know all the statistics, and actually about 70% of startups, they totally resumed their work, and they worked as the same as before the war. Of course, some of the startups, they are strong men founders, and they decided themselves, they accepted this, they joined military forces, and they decided to protect the country. Those startups are actually now on hold. We have several startups like this. They are great, and they are founded by MBA holders from United States and from other universities. So it's incredibly smart people who are joining army just to protect the country. And other startups also decided to participate in the war, but they participate in not in physical, in military, but in IT army, which is also incredible thing, and it's like special phenomenon of this war. So maybe some of you can describe it more. What is IT army of Ukraine, guys?
Yeah, I can tell about that. That's a really awesome thing that is happening right now. Besides the physical war that is happening, like destroying rockets, all that stuff, there is cyber war going on. And from the first, how I knew about that is happening and that there is an IT army forming in Ukraine. My friend, she was during the first day, she was like, we have to do something. Like, I cannot just sit here watching all that things going on. We have to do something. But what can I do? I'm a marketologist. I'm a business person. And she's like, we can do advertisement to show the world what's going really on. Because Russia, they are fighting us not only with rockets, they are fighting us with propaganda, and they are fighting with whole world with this propaganda and myths. And our main aim was to show what's really going on in Ukraine, not to fall in the same trap as we did for previous years, not showing what's really going on, like going with the flow of Russian news and Russian propaganda. And so then, starting from the first day, it's a whole, it's totally volunteering and self-organized movement of IT army. It includes creative people, marketologists, advertisement professionals, cybersecurity professionals, developers, and each person is working in its own field where they worked for years before. So just imagine like 20 best marketing agencies rallied up together and joined each other to work on the same project of showing the reality and showing the truth to the world. And also the IT army is fighting cyber attacks that are happening the whole time. So basically we are now experiencing the first cyber war that is happening in the world, and we are in the middle of it in media, in Facebook, and in the whole web. When you use it, you can be influenced by it. And IT army is fighting on behalf of every European person to show the truth.
Guys, I want to point that there is a microphone somewhere here. So please, we are ready to accept any questions from the audience. Please don't be shy to participate because we wanted to give presents. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to add a few words. You know, startups, war, Ukraine, how all those things connected, and also investments. You know, from my experience in the startup area and dealing with different VC funds. So VC funds always, you know, were talking about teams, right? Because, you know, you might have some ideas, startups, but the market might be changed, right? And new ideas might appear. And the ability of the startup team to address those challenges almost in no time and realize new opportunities, it's very, very important to each and every investor, right, in each and any VC funds. So when the COVID started, right, you know, many VC funds were, okay, this is a stress test to our, you know, portfolio of startups, and we will see who will survive, who can be working in a new reality, right? This is how we call it that time when the COVID started. Then the COVID more or less ended, and we have, the war in the center of Europe. And actually, I think today the startups, specifically startups in Ukraine, who managed to address the new challenge that, nobody could even imagine, and who could and can actually change the behavior and address this challenge, is yet another stress testing of all the ecosystem of the startups in Ukraine, and the ones who really knows how to survive and actually deliver value to the clients during the COVID and during the war are the ones who should be ultimate goal for the investors all over the world to invest. Because this is a stress testing of the startups that nobody other startups in the world can say, we know how to deliver during the war. Who can tell that except of Ukrainian startups? So this is definitely the stress test, and this is the point where VC funds starting from Silicon Valley and here in Poland have definitely to consider those startups, because if they survive during the COVID, during the war, definitely they will address all possible challenges in the world, right, in the future.
We even know that new startups appeared during the war and new business model appeared during the war. Can you please elaborate more on this?
There is this thought that this time it can be productive in terms of the biggest technological breakthroughs are happening when there is a big crisis. And people start to adjust and they start looking for new opportunities. And of course, in Ukraine, there are some startups that pivoted their technologies to suit this new reality. They're our new normal. So there's cybersecurity, of course. There is electric vehicles that Ukrainian army is using now to do their job. And also there is this terrain scanning and recognition drones that help us scan the terrain and see the damage and all that stuff. And I'm sure that all these new technologies can be used for building better future. Like we can pivot from depending on the gasoline to electric vehicles, for example. It might be a big breakthrough after a crisis for the whole world.
No, I think all of us learn how to pivot it. We pivoted our businesses, our startups, and many of us pivoted our life. And we know we have even this, it's about all of us, or every business. And we have also this startup here in the room who pivoted those robots you're here. They pivoted their startups basically from logistics robots to robots that will help deliver and take away mines. So basically, it's better to sacrifice robots, right, than human life working with mines. So basically, we are showing how this war gives some impact on us, and we adjusting. And what else I would add? Speaking about the war, I think also Ukraine now can be called first blockchain nation. In which way that it's so decentralized. Why Russia cannot defeat us so easily? Because its Russian army tries to work with not only Ukrainian army, but with the whole people, the whole nation. Basically, all Ukrainians who are within country or abroad, they participate in this war somehow. Some of them participate physically, some of them participate just pivoting their businesses, some of them participate given their intellectual capacity and mental capacity, how to defeat. Some of them dedicated to informational war. So basically, Russia's now fighting not with only army, with 200,000 people in the east and south, but with the whole population of Ukraine. This is 40 million of us, and that's why we believe we will do our job and kick some asses away from our country. And I want to take some questions from the room, if there are any. Just don't be afraid to show your hand, because it adds huge light here. Oh, great, we have someone.
Hi, thank you so much. Well, I have such a question, in my mind, everyone in the world now should be wanting to hire Ukrainians or invest in Ukrainians. Why? Because after the world, Ukrainians will be so popular, then such possibilities won't be easily available. So I think everyone should be doing it now. But what are your thoughts? Your partners, your clients, what they think about it? Thank you.
Maybe all of us can answer this question. Like my observation that many people afraid. They just scared to death. Western Europe funds, they escape, and like those people who already have some positive experience with Ukraine, they keep investing despite everything. But those who had never experienced it, they really scared by nature. That's why actually I want to hear the opinion of Dmitry, because he is one who keeps investing in Ukrainian business even now. So how you see it?
Yeah, I can tell my experience. I don't know if it's how it happens everywhere, but our venture fund is quite new, and before the war, we were raising money from investors, limited partners, and we had some kind of oral, verbal commitment to invest in our fund some amounts. And then with those verbal commitments, of course, we are searching for startups and making our own commitments to invest into those startups. And after the war, well, you know, verbal commitment, it's not even signed papers. And if even it would be signed papers, it doesn't mean that those people, and most of them were from Ukraine IT industry, but I would even understand if someone from abroad will not transfer the money after the war started. And after a certain period of time, like 3 weeks, when we settled some things and reallocated people and started to make our news regarding each startups, how it feels, what happened, what are the losses, and what are the maybe upsides of the situation for someone. And then we found that every investor who had a previous commitment signed the documents and already sent us the money. And what was more interesting is that 2 more Swedish funds, investment funds from Sweden, also joined us with quite a big amounts of investments. That's why we had the possibility to again fund our previous commitments and get new. So I don't know whether it's about Ukraine, but definitely it's about the fact that Ukraine doesn't survive. Ukraine survive, and well, it's hopefully, yeah, in the future we will see more investments into Ukraine.
I think, you know, events like this one is the one who's actually have to answer on your question as well, right? So we are here because we want to show to the world that, you know, each and every investment definitely is a risk. But today, yeah, I think it's really good time, I would say, yeah, a window of opportunity to invest specifically in Ukraine startups, right? To the people who knows how to change the business, change the life overnight, and to be united and actually fight not only against enemies, but also against the business challenges and successfully actually fight against those challenges. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, of course, we need actually as a Ukrainian community more and more success stories on the startup ecosystem, yeah, like our company, and yeah, I believe there will be more and more product startups companies who will be very famous, yeah, with the products who's actually gonna to change some industries forever.
I will say on behalf of hiring people from Ukraine, trying to relocate them. Ukraine is very interesting location for hiring people, but not relocating them there, but hiring in Ukraine and working through Ukrainian company like ours, like Qubit Labs or like Sigma, because you save some costs. You can, all startups want to be cost effective, and then there is a way, because when you relocate a person, you pay higher taxes. And Ukraine is a very beneficial location for creating your R&Ds. And I hope that it will stay like that in future, and we will bring more clients, we will bring more projects, more companies will turn to developing their own products, like developing startups, so we will be more technological in that case. But it's just to say that Ukraine, it takes 2 days to set up your private entrepreneur company, and then the taxes are very low. So if you are looking for the location to develop your startup, it can be Ukraine, definitely, even right now, because as you see on our own experience, it's possible, and everything is working, and it will be working, I'm sure.
And to continue your comment that we have Dear City, also the co-author of the law of Dear City is here. And actually this is a special zone that creates like less taxes, and you can do investments on English law, which simplifies everything.
I also have one more comment about that. Some people who wanted to emigrate, to relocate earlier, they want to come back desperately. I mean, this is the real life examples when a person was choosing the European country for relocation, and now they're like, I want to go back, I want to build something in Ukraine, I want to keep my business in Ukraine, and this war, it opened in Ukraine, and in Ukrainians such new strength and something new that we never knew that it's in us, I think. And so it will be very hard to hire Ukrainians and relocate them to other countries. It's better to come to Ukraine and hire there and bring business back to our country.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of our people from IT now aware of different tax regimes all over the Europe, and they became surprised. Well, it's higher taxes, yeah. But still, what we are now discussing with the Ministry of Digital transformation is that we need to work how to keep, at least for now, the tax residence for Ukrainian people in Ukraine. But some tax regimes in countries like Portugal, for example, they allow to pay taxes and use double treaty taxation to reduce or not to pay at all taxes, for example, in Portugal. So we are now working on different tax regimes in different countries. Yeah.
So as a summary, answering on your question, right? So today we have many Ukrainian startups here on the summit. So please invest. Fantastic opportunity, no doubt. Ukrainian startups definitely will win.
Ukrainian founder knows what he tells. And you know, just comment for VCs. What I found it in Europe that people don't differentiate that much between private equity PE transactions and VC. Private equity transaction, yes, it's a bit scary that missiles can hit your plant or can fit your factory. But a digital product and software cannot be destroyed that easy. You can keep investing in software because everything in servers somewhere in Google, Amazon, Microsoft, whatever. So all digital products, they are alive and they keep working and nothing can happen with them. And you know, this war in a bit hilarious because Russians think that they can destroy the country. It's so easy, but it's not, because we have digital economy which already is quite huge. And it's keep growing, and I hope it will. Yes, Oksana.
I even have, even though I have my passport with myself, it could be that it could burn or something else. But I have all my documents here in my phone, and they are valid, and I can use them to, like as a real passport. So Ukraine is such a digitalized nation now that, first of all my documents are with me in my phone, and they are valid for Ukrainian government. And for example, we with Yelena, we can just, I just can send her money in 2 seconds without knowing her bank account. So we're so used to these technologies that we don't even think about how digitalized we are until we start thinking about that, I guess.
Until we appeared in Europe. Actually, you know, we're signing now documents by having these moves. I sign in all documents with face recognition through the summit, and through the application. And it basically helps do it from United States or somewhere to sign everything just to put in my face in my smartphone, then it recognizes me. Any else questions? Can I show? Can you please? Yes, please. Can someone moderate the questions because I cannot see of the lights?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Good.
perfect.
Thank you for this very interesting discussion. My question would be, I know it's hard to predict the future, but where do you see the startup ecosystem, or where do you want to see it in the rebuilding of Ukraine?
Actually, my wish, right? So companies like Sequoia Capital and other big names coming to Ukraine establish offices, and they will invest in Ukrainian startups. This is my wish.
I just add, you know, actually Sequoia Capital is in Ukraine and Andreessen Horowitz, but they not physically have office, but they already invested in Ukrainian startups. So Ukrainian ecosystem is quite famous somehow in the United States, more famous than in Europe, because Ukrainian startups, they just sometimes keep the localization through the Europe and go directly to the United States. So we have plenty of American funds who already invested in later stages of Ukrainian startups. But now, as we have first offices of Starlink and Facebook open office, and who else?
Yeah, of course, the later stage, everybody can invest, but you have to have like certain not risk avoidance, risk-taking strategy that you really need to support startups on the early stage. This is where startups definitely need the support, right? Like CEO of Revolut, right? I believe, right? He also mentioned this, and therefore he established his own fund. But there's the classical VC funds, they invest on the later stage, when usually you have a lot of clients already, you don't need to find any longer the market fit. So yeah, but you really need VC funds to invest on the super early stage, just to see the team, see the idea, say, wow, this is going to be yet another unicorn. I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to invest. This is what startups need.
And if the venture fund will not understand it, then seed venture partners will invest in all Ukrainian startups and they will have then benefits.
That's exactly what we are doing. We are just interviewing the team and a little bit of technology, because all our general partners are C-level managers in IT companies, and everyone understands the technology, and what is the most important is the team. And what we saw in Ukraine, a lot of teams were raising money and appearing in the market, and unfortunately, I think we will have like a delay of that growth, because it was very important that it was a lot of incubators, conferences, events, everything what is happened in Kiev was very important for this new startups infrastructure. And now we have, of course, still some or maybe a lot of new startups, but I think, again, it's very important to rebuild and restart this process again as soon as possible.
So we will, as soon as it's safe, we will try to bring you all guys there to Kiev. I hope you will be...
But I think in general, if you compare, for example, United States market of investment in Europe, definitely United States market is more like risk-taken versus Europe. Europe is more avoid the risk, or to have, like you just mentioned, to invest on the company on the early stage. So in principle, I think it's not only about Ukraine, but Poland, Germany, Holland, yeah, maybe UK, they're different, right? But yeah, we as startups, we really need more VC funds who really wanted to take the risks, right, and believe into ideas. Because, you know, usually you have to develop this all Excel sheets, etc., on the early stage. Yeah, you can put thousands of assumptions and develop any kind of the business case, any kind of Excel to justify it. But you really need to understand what startup is doing, like an idea. And again, the team. Team is very important because, like I said, so looking for the market fit, usually there are no, at least I don't know, the startups who, you know, invented one idea and they exit with this idea. Usually the idea is being changed as we speak, right? We started with something, then we realize the market is different, we address this market, and it's really, you know, journey. And the team, the founding team, the core team really need to understand how to address those changes. Again, so the idea that came to your mind today doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be not changed tomorrow. You really need to know to understand how to address this. And this is what VC funds really in Europe have to looking for, right? Okay, there is a fantastic team, there is an idea, I'm going to take the risk, I'm going to invent this company. In Poland, in Ukraine, in Europe, right? This, I think, very important to Europe ecosystem in general.
Yeah, I completely agree, and this is why our fund was focusing on Ukrainian startups, because being more than 20 years in IT business in Ukraine, we were like familiar how the teams should behave. We hired thousands of people. We know how to make interviews and we understand our mentality. This is why our fund was focusing in Ukraine, because when you're talking with US startup, you don't feel the mentality. You can miss some details in behavior or whatever. But if you are from Ukraine, you feel much more fluently.
Next question. Who wants to ask?
My name is Pushpak. Recently moved to Wrocław, and I come from the investments industry. First of all, thank you very much. To put things in context, I have been to Ukraine over the last 10 years, few times, so I appreciate the changes and the talent pool which has been available. My question today, having raised some of the important points, such as risk-taking at the seed stage, the appetite. I'm glad you brought out the distinctions between US and Europe. In my experience in Europe, and this is a first-hand experience, and I've been fortunate enough to have lived across the world, I was surprised that if you look at the behavior of entrepreneurs from poorer countries, and you look at the behavior of so-called entrepreneurs from a wealthier nations which have significant subsidies, their understanding of risk-taking is completely different. When I was mentoring startups in Germany, there were people who were moving from grant to grant with no conviction in their own startup. So what I appreciate the fact that what you highlighted, that today what Ukraine is going through, which is the disruption and the resilience Ukrainians have built, and the national pride you have raised, that's an amazing transformation of mental resilience. The point is brain drain. As a nation, how would you keep your talent where there is a shortage of talent, there is a tug of war for talent all over the world for digital expertise? How would Ukraine keep the people behind to help the country? And how would you attract them back to Ukraine? Thank you.
So maybe I'll start and my colleagues will answer. So first of all, we want our people to be safe. It's maybe the most important. We want our people to be alive, so we are happy that they are accepted somewhere else in Poland, in Europe, and this is first need. And you know, we work in digital sphere, in the digital products, and it means that physical presence, it doesn't mean that much. We need founders of our startups to be available to travel, because we need to raise financing and to be present and to make business development. But usually, and it was before war, and maybe it will be later, many of our R&D offices are there. So we will see if we will be able to create such economic conditions that we will win not only physical war, but also economic war. I mean, and be economically resilient. It's our next goal and our step for us as a nation and for our government, how we can do this. But again, for me, for instance, my opinion, it's not that crucial to be physically there if we can deliver digital products and if some revenue streams can go to Ukraine to support Ukraine. After the war, the world will be totally different. Europe will change, United States will change, perceptions will change, because it's such unfair and unprovoking war and such aggression that the world haven't seen for ages, you know. And many things will be perceived differently. If we will manage to win this war, Ukraine will have this place on a map and will be popular. That's why now it's not a task to be afraid of brain drain. You know, people should be safe and they should keep working, and we should give them these conditions. But later, it will be their choice. Ukraine is a free country. You know, we are free by spirit as free nation. And if they will be their calling of their heart to come back home, then it is they can work there. If they will decide that they fit better in your ecosystem, it's also the decision. They still create great products for the world.
Comment from my side. Yes, I think you're absolutely right concerning the risk-taking nation and the economic maturity of the countries. You're absolutely right. I agree with you, right? So the economies, I mean, the countries with less developed economies and the founders from those countries, they more intend to take the risk because, you know, living in Ukraine or countries like Ukraine, you know, it's also a lot of risk, right? Versus you mentioned Germany, right? So everything is stable for the ages. Yeah, and I think this is also one of the very important factor when it comes to Ukraine and the startups, because risk-taking, it's about startups. So all startups about risk-taking, because we think something unbelievable. Like I said, so our idea 10 years ago, everybody around said it's impossible. So what you have been dreaming, it's impossible. And actually, when a lot of, you know, the people around the founder says it's impossible, that's definitely the right way to start the startup, because this is what startups are doing. They're making impossible possible, risk-takings, right? And then another, what Ukraine can do after the war, I think, yeah, at least what I wish to believe, that there are going to be a lot of investment, right, in the Ukraine from the different organizations all over the world. Yeah, because we are going to build the country like South Korea, right, in terms of economy, in terms of technology, in terms of companies, etc., and definitely many young and motivated people would like to come back and help the country, the motherland, to become the very big and successful player in the Europe. Yeah.
Guys, any more questions? I cannot see you, just please. Yeah. Is there any questions? Otherwise, we will listen to the music. Yes.
Hello, my name is Irina. I represent Deus Robots. Actually, we say that about impossible. Yes, really, we were looking for funds in Ukraine to build in Ukraine factory for robotic, and actually, before the war, we go our investments. Unfortunately, for now, it's frozen, but we believe that anyway we will just change our investor because we have very high level product and actually we have a contracts and everything. What I want to ask you, for now, for example, for our company, it's really very difficult because we're not software, we're hardware. We are a robotic company and we build a factory which is on the land in place where it can happen everything. So can you suggest us as fund what we should do to fundraise to Ukraine? Because we have too much opportunity now to go to USA with our team, with our product. We can go to Poland and actually too much investors wait us here, but we love our country, and actually if it would be any chance to stay in Ukraine, we stay in Ukraine.
But again, you know, the difference to sell the product and to have the R&D team in Ukraine, I think, is two different things, right? You would like to still to have, and like our company, we also have teams in Ukraine, right? And we have IP in Ukraine.
We team of Ukraine, we have company in Ukraine,
okay.
We sell our product, we robotized Nova Poshta, you know what this company, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know, but I'm trying to say that the team is in Ukraine, you develop
yes.
hardware related to logistics, super fantastic.
Yes.
But why you kind of omit having clients here in Poland or in Europe? I mean, still, your IP is being developed in Ukraine. That's no problem at all.
The problem is another way. We should to build factory this year. To the end of the year, we should to build the factory because we have clients and we need to make our contracts. But we cannot because we should to buy equipment, for example, from Europe and bring here. And European companies, they don't bring their stuff to implement even this equipment to Kyiv, for example.
I think it's a better way to approach to investment bankers. They exist in Ukraine and they could help you to find the right investor. But I hope your land or your factory is in the safe place, because otherwise it will be hard to
yes,
get.
that's why the question is for hardware startups. How you see, is it possible in Ukraine now under war to make this business? What do you think? What you will do if, for example, you have factory in Kyiv?
Well, we are not investing in hardware, even if it was no war. But I don't know. Again, it's better to start this process now with investment bankers, and probably when the war will be over, you will have those investments.
No, banking, it's not that sphere. We, yes, we have in contract more than millions of dollars,
no, I mean, it's not banking. It's not banking.
No.
It's guys who are searching for the investments.
Investment banking, да.
Yeah, they just call like bankers. They are not bankers. They are like real estate agents.
You know, maybe you should make a pivot. You know, you had strategy based Ukraine, then Poland, and then United States. Now make it Poland first, your base, and then
United
you
States,
will
then
see.
Ukraine.
Yes, and then come back to Ukraine. Like sometimes people do this. So, and maybe at that time it will be just great plan.
You know, you're a startup, right? Meaning that
can
you're
do
so
whatever.
agile. So just change your strategy, and that's it. So I do understand you had a strategy in the past, but the situation is different. So keep the IP in Ukraine, develop the hardware, take the spare parts out of Europe, build the product, and sell this product from Ukraine to Poland or to Holland, where logistics is really booming. So your product is very important right now, but the place is. Yeah, it's different. It's challenging.
You definitely
for now,
have
at least.
some ways to succeed, and we're sure. And the most important is that you keep working, your team keep working. That's the most important. And build your plant where you see the best now.
Yes, we have, but it's not only question about me. We have too much, plenty of teams. I mean, is this artificial intelligence? They are tech startups. Even for now, I know several teams which are now making robotic to avoid mine and whatever, and they need investments. But
Irina,
this is
maybe
not
we can
solved.
discuss your question later on, because either we can take one more question from the audience and like a special case, or maybe we can invite the team of Wolf Summit. Why I want to invite them to the stage? Because they promised, and they actually promised that they will make the next event, or maybe when it's safe, in Kiev. And we see that our mission is bring as much people as possible to Ukraine and to Kiev. And now we want to appreciate their efforts on doing those events. You know, usually they do events for startups, and all startups get something. Yes, they have some prizes from jury and so on. But when you organize events, and you know, I am in this business as well in Ukraine, I'm doing events for startups, conference, and no one sees your efforts. But now we want to really appreciate what the people do for us. So maybe we can raise the presence.
Elena, you know, it's already kind of the tendency, right? So, Elena.
Yes. Yes.
Do you hear me? I'm trying to say there is already a tendency, right? So Eurovision is coming to Ukraine, then Wolf Summit is coming to Ukraine, so more and more companies and the things are coming to Ukraine, right?
So maybe we will start with Martin Rin, who is the founder of Wolf Summit, and Mike Schaffer. We want to give you presents. Thank you for making this event. Thank you for hosting Ukrainian startups. Just check what is there, Mike.
Okay.
You please.
Okay, so thank you very much, Elena. Thank you, Alex, and for the great panelists and in the crowd. So the story, our collaboration started, first of all, in Warsaw, wasn't it? We held a brief marketing event a few months ago, just before Alpha Wolves, and Alex, Elena, and a number of colleagues were there. We had made a great introduction together, and then we agreed that, okay, let's do something together for Alpha Wolves. So during Alpha Wolves, Elena delivered a fantastic presentation, which was, went down resoundingly well with the audience. Following that, we went to Prague together. So Elena and Alex and their wonderful children, and your sister, was it? Yeah. And Elena's sister came to Prague with us. We did some sightseeing. We held another brief marketing event at a hub venue in Prague. And then it brings us nicely to, to this event now, Wolf Summit 2022, where as you can see, we're displaying our most extensive agenda topics towards the Ukrainian ecosystem. So thank you very much, guys. It's been truly been a pleasure.
Thank you. Present from Mike.
Yeah.
You can show.
Thanks,
so we are basically giving them this iconic T-shirts, yes, and some drinks from Ukraine. Please, yes, please, Alexander, can you pass the presents to the girls, to the ladies? Yes, pass. Don't. So to Thomas, Sash, so you guys can think. And now we want also to invite all Ukrainians who are here in their audience, in the room, and make a picture of Ukrainian track. Please, everyone, join us. We will be happy to see you here. So maybe you can I put you somehow in nice manner? You can choose. You have black and white. It depends. So can we have, wow, who is here? Please join the stage. We want to show the world how
so
many of
people.
us here.
Amazing, wow, come and join. If you can see anyone on the way who's Ukrainian, just shout Ukraine or, Russian worship and just make them come here.
Yes, please, we've done it. Who will make picture? Do we have photographer here? Let me.
Do we have them? Yes, look.
Слава Україні!
Героям слава!
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was indeed incredible. Probably one of the favorite moments for everyone here, everyone, and just make sure you're taking the photos. And guys, for everyone else, We have a lunch break right now, so make sure you go and grab some snacks. But make sure to come back. Ooh, that was very dramatic. But make sure to come back at 2 p.m., actually maybe a bit later, for the GPC contest with Rosie. And we have a very huge mass here. So I'm going to be waiting for you here to introduce you to Rosie in 1 hour. Have a good time and have a break. Bye-bye.
When the truth is found to be life, I know the joy within you dies. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. Don't you want somebody to love? Don't you need somebody to love? Wouldn't you love somebody to love? You better find somebody to love. You want somebody to love?
This is our world. We must do better for a healthier world and a greener planet. That's why, here in Singapore, business is not just business. It is a force for good.
One of the biggest challenges as a startup, even as you start amassing great clients, is building trust and brand recognition. So working with a company like Microsoft gives incredible credibility out of the get-go. It definitely helps open doors. Microsoft does an unexplainably good job of connecting startups with these opportunities. It's been really powerful on the new business front in terms of scaling your startup and connecting to key resources.
This is our world. We must do better for a healthier world and a greener planet. That's why, here in Singapore, business is not just business. It is a force for good.
One of the biggest challenges as a startup, even as you start amassing great clients, is building trust and brand recognition. So working with a company like Microsoft gives incredible credibility out of the get-go. It definitely helps open doors. Microsoft does an unexplainably good job of connecting startups with these opportunities. It's been really powerful on the new business front in terms of scaling your startup and connecting to key resources.